Hey, welcome back. It's the Alternative Perspectives podcast, the App 868. And this is how we do it every week. We podcast in. We pod in, as Corey say.
Okay.
Yeah, so we pod in.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah?
Yeah. So another week, here we are. I am Naldo.
Jude.
And we're on the inside again.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of things in the news cycle this week, boy.
Yeah, there were a lot of interesting things to talk about. A lot of things in foreign.
All across the world, yeah. Worldwide.
Yeah, not that many down here, but a lot of things taking place.
Well, I mean, obviously, the what continues to lead in news here is crime.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like it's stopping.
It's get pushed out for a little while by flooding, but then the flooding only lasts for a few days. The flooding season lasts for a few days.
And then
crime comes back. I mean, the crime doesn't stop during that time. It just get pushed to the side a little bit in terms of the news headlines. But then once the water subsides, both theoretically and figuratively, then we get back to the regular scheduled program, which is unfortunately people getting killed.
Yeah, and I saw the numbers early today. And early today, the figures we were looking at were, I think it was like 534 or something like that. That's early today. Right? I heard about 2 killings today.
Yeah.
So
we had 536.
Yeah, about. Well, that's what I hear about it. With that thing going on that we hear about.
There was a pretty I don't want to say high profile individual, but a murder that should concern, I mean, all murders should concern us, but there's one in particular that we might find a little bit more disturbing than others, and that's the guy who was involved.
The state witness.
Yeah, who was supposed to give testimony in the case against the officers who are alleged to have killed their colleague.
Yeah. I find, in one or two places where I read the story, one online and one newspaper, it had a kind of, I find it was carrying a connotation like they're trying to insinuate that possibly the police and him kill him so he wouldn't testify, if you understand what I'm saying.
But why does that sound so strange?
Why does it sound strange?
Yeah, you're saying it's sounding, and you say with a kind of giggle like that's a crazy thing to insinuate.
No, I think it could be anything. I mean, they also say that this person may not have been the most upstanding individual in life.
Yeah, but I mean,
so I think it could be 50-50.
Well, I don't know what it was, but what I'm saying is, whenever somebody who's due to give testimony, especially somebody who's due to give testimony against state actors, which in this case would have been police officers, you would be kind of interested to know how he came to meet his demise. And, and obviously we're not going to implicate anybody. We don't know what went on. But I don't think it's crazy to suppose that, that is what might have taken place.
I just think, we could say, it could be anybody. It could.
Well, I don't know what insinuations were being made. I don't know if they were being made by the journalists or the people they interviewed.
Right.
And I would guess it's the people they interviewed.
No, I find us getting from the journalists, the way the story was crafted, the way the story was written, They
only mentioned the fact that he was... Yeah. Okay, all right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. And gave no other... They didn't seem to be putting forward any other theory with respect to why he might have...
Exactly that. Okay. There's a possibility.
Okay.
It could be.
Right. All right. Well, maybe that's poor journalism, but that wouldn't be unusual for us here in Trinidad. But I thought you meant that, the people they were interviewing, the relatives might have been, and in the media reporting the relative statements, they might be making it clear that is what they believe has taken place. But I don't think that it's crazy to make that supposition. Yeah.
But as I say, because I try not to say certain things, But I mean, that's a real weird place to be too, boy, dog, boy. If you're from Tobago,
he's by family. He's by family members.
Oh, you're in the strong, you can't be no family members, dog. You have to stay in your hole in the strong, dog, boy.
Probably he's been the all the time.
You understand?
I would suppose it's not the first time he visited them. That might have been a second home.
You remember they shoot a man in Mova for accident to turn on the lights,
Serious?
Yeah, you know what that?
No.
How you mean, boy?
No.
2 older men, sit down linemen, in front of the yard, and they see a car pull up, like they come to somebody, and when the old man say, turn on your lights now, and the man tell him something like, hey, take it on, turn on your light. Man say, hey, man jump out with the piece. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so man tried to run, shot. Man tried to continue and follow him and finish him.
Serious?
Yeah, it happened about 2 weeks ago.
No, I think they have more to that story.
Yeah, I would hate to think that men so wild out there now.
You chase down a man. I mean, it's one thing to pull up because I would suppose that if it was just, let me say, normal people, and the argument started by the lights, from the time the man pull out the gun, the argument would have done, and men would just go inside the house and say, "All right, brother man, you do you." So for it to escalate past that, it had to mean that the people he was dealing with was normal.
It could be some of them old men and them in them areas who might have been gringos long time.
Well, what I mean is, it wasn't just, hey, put on your lights. Boy, nah, I ain't putting on my lights. Boy, I'm too, boy, put on your lights. Man jump over with the gun and he's like, oh, okay, all right, brother man. All right, brother man. Keep your lights on. And he run him down and shoot him. Yeah. It wasn't that. Something went. So, I mean,
it's so wild it is.
It's so wild that we getting write up from the U.S. authorities. They issued a advisory, another one.
Well, I know what they say, another one.
But this one was a little bit...
It's a little more serious.
Yeah, they made it sound like Afghanistan. I guess Afghanistan now too, because Afghanistan is lawless now. And that seemed to upset a lot of people. It seemed... You were saying the other day that you found people were coming around a little bit to you. They're not as they don't get as sensitive, or they don't lash out at you in the same way when they criticize the country, so you feel people starting to feel the pressure. But I was surprised that a lot of people again were very angry that the US authorities felt the need to issue that advisory, and I'm perplexed as to what's wrong here. What am I missing?
Because the thing is, the clip we put out last week, where we discussed the 7,200 children, or 7,200 people, I should say, who went to the college fair and have some sort of interest in Boston out, right? Yeah. A lot of people was like, yeah, I'm not sure. Normally people, well, damn, let them go. And I read people were commenting, nah, boy, that's what we do now. That's what it look like. It's pressure out here. Plenty people agreeing till somebody make a statement I don't want to make here, because that's something we need to discuss off of this, especially this thing could be the feds could be listening and watching now. You understand? So we want to rile up the feds, right? So I mean, I don't know. I mean, probably those people are the people who, I don't know why they would want to behave like that.
I don't know. I had to go onto Facebook, regrettably, twice this week. Once to contact somebody, and another time to look for something on a page. And every time I do go on Facebook, as the dumb part of me always, go on the home feed page and see what the people saying. Because what I would do is, I don't like to do it, but because we do this, right? All right, if I'm on Facebook, let me see what people say. No, I always regret it, because let's go on and say, this is why I stopped coming onto this platform. And almost everybody I was seeing in my feed was like, oh, the US too damn fast, and why did study what going on in Chicago and here and there, and they're making it sound like it's so bad here, and blah, 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 blah. There was a lot of that, and you know me, I just want no part. I am not involving myself in that jackassness. So I just left it there. So, but I was surprised, because I know I always rely on you to give me the temperature of the place out there.
But the thing is, the people I come across, nobody was really upset about it, everybody fine. Well, okay, everybody watch that. Well, it's just another one, and things bad here. So,
but I don't know if this normally happens, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs, along with the Minister of National Security, they requested a meeting with the Charge d'Affaires at the U.S. Embassy. I believe that's because we have a vacancy for the... We have an ambassador right now? Because
I don't think so, no. I think...
I saw Kamala, not Kamala, appointing somebody, but I don't know if she's come to Trinidad yet.
Right.
So I guess that's why they met with the Charge d'Affaires. But anyway... well, obviously, all that came out from that meeting was a promise to relay the issues that we have to the White House, to the State Department in the US. Well, that's not going to go anywhere. But I don't know. I can't remember if that's a normal thing. If every time these things come out, we
just go and try to meet and...
Yeah, we make a big thing about meeting to discuss it. But that's why, again, I was confused. I was like, well, what's the big deal? Yeah, this place is a mess. Crime is ridiculous. It's out of hand. So, you know, where the lies? As the young people say, where the lies?
But, yeah, I guess people would still want to tailor the image that going on there, because somebody was talking about that the other day. If crime continue the way it is going, then investors would want to invest.
Of course.
Right? And you have all those other fall-offs from that away.
Of course.
It's not just tourists, because you might just think, well, you know, the tourists touching the floor might be lessening. No. We have investors. We have a lot of other things.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you have to relocate expats here, you know, those expats might be a little bit wary. And they might be like, hey, no, I'm not too interested in going to live there. I'm quite fine, because, you know, being at the headquarters back in wherever.
Contrary to what people might think, those expats, when they come to these countries, they want to enjoy the country. You know?
Yeah. They want to mingle.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to go necessarily in the ghettos.
Yeah, but they
want to be able to move around.
Yeah, they want to go hiking. They want to, especially when they come to a Caribbean country, and they go to the beach. They want to live that kind of life. You don't want to just go to work. You know, because you know, people would think, well,
they live a sheltered life. You know what I mean? They just go in the one Woodbrook Place apartment, wherever they set up. They come out, they go to work, and they go to the fancy dinner parties, and they go home. But you know, they want to enjoy the place. But staying in that vein, I saw this article pop up in a group I was in the other day, or a group that I am in. And I wanted to get your take on it, right? You being the Grenadian, the resident Grenadian.
The Grenadian boy.
The resident Grenadian on set, right? This article is entitled, Grenada Must Wet Its House Because the Neighbors on Fire, right? It's written by someone called Dr. Niels Chaitan, who is an international social skill consultant and crime reduction specialist who holds a PhD in social and behavioral sciences, right? And currently works in Grenada. So I just want to read a little part of it, and I want to ask you a very specific question, right?
All right.
With the fires of homicides exploding north, south, and east of us, it is critical that the government of Grenada urgently becomes proactive in keeping the flames down in the Spice Island. No longer can we just sit passively and repeat the soul-soothing greetings like God is good all the time, and all the time God is good inside of our churches and government offices. Because even standing to pray to start a meeting while sitting back down and doing nothing intentional to quench the homicidal flames that's devouring our neighbors before they explode on our shores. A little bit flowery language, but it is with it, right? Figures are showing, this is the important part, figures are showing that the region is experiencing an exponential outburst in homicides, with Jamaica to the far north recording 1,329 murders as of November 7th. This is all this year. And Trinidad and Tobago in the south projecting 585 murders by year's end and growing to 710 murders by 2030, according to the Sunday Express. The rates are no different in our immediate region because according to the SVG Searchlight, which apparently is some sort of media house in St. Vincent, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is ranked number 7 in the world for the highest murder rate. The flames become more devastating as we go further north to St. Lucia, where what is known as the Helen of the West, just climbed up to 60 homicides, with Barbados east of us recording 35 murders, according to Loop News, October 28, 2022. He goes on to state that the murder figures in Grenada are still in the single digits, right? So, I want to ask you, because, okay, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Barbados, all mentioned there. Obviously, Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, we know about that, right? Normally, when we're talking about these things and we talk about the islanders, the smaller islanders, we can't really call them small island, being from Trinidad, right? But we like to call them small islanders, right? We kind of say, well, you know, the reason why how we are, and is because they kind of I don't want to say backward, but they aren't as advanced as we are, and therefore they don't have the same number of social ills, right?
Right.
So you think people who live on these smaller islands, they tend to be more peaceful, more connected, and more community vibe. But it doesn't seem to be the case, though. So it seems like Grenada is unique.
All right. So the thing is, I haven't been to St. Vincent yet because it's one of the places where it kind of interesting and intriguing to me now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to use the word fears, but one of the concerns I have is I remember Zola, who used to sing soca. Probably she's
Zuela.
Well, Zola.
That's how they pronounce it?
Zola, yeah.
Zuela or something?
No, Zola.
No, I don't know that.
Yeah, I think Darky that used to sing soca.
Oh, no, I don't know.
That time I was speaking to her after an interview, and well, she's from St. Vincent, and I was telling her that I have some interesting comments in St. Vincent and whatever. And she's like, well, where in St. Vincent? I tell her some family, and I tell her where, and apparently that area in St. Vincent little shaky now, but known for little violence and little. She's like, that's that kind of. That area shouldn't go. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because my surname is the name of the area, it's something that's always kind of iffy about. You understand what I'm saying? Because if I go in there, it's really going to see where my father and my grandfather came from and whatever, right? And probably enjoy the little tourist things after. But to be honest with you, St. Vincent is not one of the places I've ever been interested in for tourism, right? Just for tourists, right? But I know they have some ills there, right? St. Lucia, I knew of St. Lucia ills as well. That little Douglas, but a real pretty Douglas dog. She used to dance with Ricardo Drew. And I remember she told me she get like 5 shots across in her car, they shoot up, she just come around and more. And I was like, wow, it's St. Lucia dog. Yeah. So I knew they were shaky as well. Grenada, on the other hand, I think one of the things that was saving Grenada, and I think I could be wrong, and I mean, obviously, I would say we are friends of the Grenadian community at the Spice Isle. And I mean,
you and I, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I thought you just mean Trinidad.
Oh, no, right. You and I. And obviously the floor is open for us to have that discussion with Grenadians. The thing is, I think that Grenada is going to end up there just now.
No, I'm not doubting.
And let me tell you why.
But just now, before you go forward. I still am trying to understand why they're not there yet.
But right, because, and this is what I'm saying, right now, Grenada still has, you're not seeing the big difference between the haves and the have-nots.
But
right?
Is that the case in St. Lucia? I don't know that. I don't know about St. Vincent. I've never been to St. Lucia either, but I know a few St. Lucians. I used to kind of line with a crew of them back when I was in sixth form, right? And I always got the impression that there was nothing but niceness.
Right.
It was kind of like Antigua, or, you know what I mean? But that's not the case. And even Barbados, the article says Barbados is at 35. And they're like, yeah, that's a small.
Yeah.
But Barbados is just over 100,000 people, And Barbados is one of those places you would have thought was one of the more progressive small islands. Not only are they, everybody's talking about Barbados and the patriotism, right? How the people there behave differently. They pay much closer attention to how they treat the environment over there. As I told you, driving across there is be completely different to Trinidad because people stop and say, go ahead, get you. But they all seem to be getting wild. So how Grenada?
Well, I mean, for Barbados, I'm not surprised with Barbados because the first, which is also the last time I went to Barbados, when I went to play for crop over. Dog, 22 people get shot on Carnival on the day of the parade.
Got shot?
Yeah, 22 got shot, 1 died.
22 people got shot?
Yeah, 22 people, dog. And I watch how they, I don't want to say they bury it, but that didn't really come out that easily, but it happened.
I think I went to the crop over the year before, and there was nothing. There was once we went and there was a shooting on Carnival Day, and that was the talk of everybody, right? There was, everybody when Cardumen was done on the evening, everybody you stopped to talk to was talking about the hood and it was, Bajans were saying it's not, it's not like it was the first time people get shoot, But 22, that different because
Yeah.
and that real weird because as I say, the year I can't remember I can't remember exactly what year you went, but
That's 2017.
and I went 2016, right? And there was nothing like that, right? We used to go to Bajan fetes and there was never any violence, no fight, no stabbing, no shooting, no nothing, right? Now again, I'm not saying that the Barbados has been perfect for the past however long, but what I'm trying to get at is normally we just use the excuse. Well, first of all, Trinidad and Jamaica have a location that makes it a little bit more susceptible to smuggling.
Right.
Right. Jamaica closer to Central America and Cuba we close to South America. Right. And also we have the haves and have-nots and we have the basically more developed countries, larger economies. So you think, well, yeah, we would have those social ills. But them on the small islands, them just, it's almost like Tobago.
Yeah,
you know, them supposed to be nice, easy. But they don't seem to be that way. But Grenada, specifically.
Seems to still have it under control.
Yeah.
And as I say, but like the other day, and I've been talking to a lot of Grenadian friends about this. I'm starting to see in Grenada now where people on the flossing lifestyle. And for years, Grenada was never on that flossing lifestyle. I've been playing in parties in Grenada for a few years, and most people just come out and party.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, people buying bottles. Like, if they had to buy a bottle, they buy a bottle of rum long time. I'm telling you.
Right.
Clark Scott, Rivers, rum they drink. Now you're seeing people buying champagne though.
Right.
And sparklers with the champagne. You understand? And Hennessy and that kind of thing. And I'm like, hey, you see that direction all going in, Regin? Or let's try and ease that dog. Because when that started, and this one want to stunt, and that one don't have the money to stunt, and they want to stunt, then they will start to do thing. You understand what I'm saying? So they could be able to stunt like them who stunting.
Right.
And I've been trying to have that conversation with a lot of my Grenadian friends. And they keep trying to tell me, dog, there's not Trini, there's not Trini. And I mean, generally Grenadian people, and I don't want to make it sound bad, but probably because of the money and thing we have, we might have more advanced problems. But their problems could eventually come afterwards. If you understand what I'm saying, the same problems we have could come in time, right? And so that's what I was trying to explain to them. And I mean, as I say, generally, what I will tell you too is, if you hear Grenadians fall out with each other or somebody vex with somebody else, you would never hear them say, and if you ask them, they never feel like they want to kill the person now, or the person should dead. Chinese, that's a very serious thing with them now, they always think that, but that man had to dead us. Well, not all of them, but they say Chinese say that like real dog.
But yeah, but a certain kind of people too.
Right?
Yeah. I know what I've come to realize is that everybody is on edge and seems to think that any little altercation could lead to that. So now people, they either shut up, or from the time they talk, they're ready to go all the way. Because these people these days have a kind of perception like, there are no kind of long time I cough you in your face and you cough me and we fight it out and I get up and walk off. Nah. Is either going to take whoever bad up your game, or I open them mouth and I'm ready to go all the way.
Because the thing is, exactly, because if you fall out with somebody and it end up fisticuffs, right? A man mightn't take that, a man might swing back. And that's something they say about plenty. Man fall out in bar, and at the end, a man get gunned down. Man fall out, man get stabbed up. You understand what I'm saying? So I think with Chinese is, boy, if it's war, it's real war.
Is either, and I just kind of adopt that attitude as well. If it's either I'm not going to say nothing, or if I say something, I have to be, you have to know this, how far this could go. You understand what I'm saying? And you kind of have to be prepared for that. So... And I think that's what he's finding here.
Right, and Grenada are not there yet. You know, a lot of Grenadians just get vexed and they go hear them talk about planning, saying a man or whether they go teach a man a lesson. You understand what I'm saying? The last few times I was there, I mean, and I know some of the rougher people on the Grenada side, and you know, I ain't hear much of them, you know, for this, boy, we looking to kill our boy or boy had to dead. So, that is a kind of positive.
But is it that they have there's this, because I would presume that in all these other islands, what is leading to these homicides is obviously organized crime, right? Is it that they have something within them, like they have some special attitude towards organized crime, where like they can't fall prey to it, like they're not how to put it? Because I remember long ago I'd looked at a documentary, and they were talking about different neighborhoods in Philadelphia, and it was just after, gang culture began to, really breed there, and there was this. I think it was Northwest Philadelphia. There was this area there where, people were confused as to why the gangs weren't, spreading into there. And it was because the people there came from, they were all descendants of these black Southerners who came from a particular region, and they couldn't be broken up, right? They couldn't, they would have rab and argument and whatever, they like everybody else, but they weren't susceptible to people coming and saying, well, you on this street, we warring with them on that street. They couldn't, I don't know if that's still the case now, but I remember that was a long time ago I saw that documentary. So I'm wondering if in Grenada, you can't really get me to start to watch the man living across so as an enemy just because, well, you just sell drugs and you want me to sell for you, so no matter watch that man over there.
But you see, the thing is, if they start to have financial incentives behind it, I don't know if they could keep that unity or keep that.
But why not? Why? How St. Lucia could have it and them not have it? I believe their population bigger than St. Lucia's. They closer to we, and we are who we are. You know what I mean? Because I would have thought it would spread to Grenada first.
Right.
Because almost all that we know are Grenadian in terms of having friends or family. The woman who stabbed the husband in the car, stabbed her husband in the car the other day, the whole is a Grenadian, right? So, almost everybody have a aunt or a grandmother or somebody who they could trace to Grenada, you know what I mean? So I would have thought it would have spread from here to there and then gone up the chain, you know what I mean? But it's not. They just not on that.
Well, I mean, definitely, as I said, the floor is open, and probably next week we could have somebody on from Grenada who could expound some more. But I as I say, I'm watching it, and I'm very concerned still though, because I've seen a lot of the patterns that developing there in terms of the separation between the haves and the have-nots. And as I say, if they could have some sort of financial incentive, if people would still be able to say, well, because, I tell you straight, dog, on many occasions, I've considered going to Grenada to live. On many occasions. But my biggest problem was money, dog. They really don't have the money to pay me for me to live comfortably over there. You understand what I'm saying? It will be, I had to get, as a man to me, I had to get a minister work, dog. You had to get a minister work.
But so how they afford it? Is it that because they have their own support network?
Nah, the thing is, plenty of them is built, it might be family land and they just build a kind of shack kind of thing, because rent and thing are real expensive across there. People working in KFC last time when I was there, I remember asking a girl, so what's the salary? And she said, like 800. Like 800 each a week, all right, I'm bad. She said, no, it's 800 each a month.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
What's called this thing? The small apartment, everything that's being one way.
A studio
apartment. It's like 700 US a month. No, US EC, sorry. A month to rent it. Sure. So you working for 800 EC a month. You cannot go on rent.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? You have to kind of stay by family or...
So it's because everybody has either inherited land or... So if you have a support structure there, you could survive as a poor person. But you can't go across there.
Go across there
with nothing in hand, no money to go and buy a piece of land and... All right, okay.
Right? So, and so that's one of the things that, one of the things that kept me back now. And I talk to plenty girls and they tell me shit. They say, what we just do, we just work hard. And the little money we get, we just try and do a little thing and enjoy ourselves. We can't afford to be buying the makeup and the weave every week or whatever the case may be. So we just try to look a little decent and we go.
So that why the job's so nice, because there's nothing better to do.
Well, the thing is,
there's live for the enjoyment.
There's live for the little enjoyment. But when they get to have the enjoyment, they just have it all. You understand what I'm saying? They just put everything out and really enjoy. I guess that's where the parties will be so good and everything will be so good for them, is because when they're ready to, they know they're wasting money like Chinese.
Well, not just wasting money, but if you... I don't want to say... that's how I phrase it just as a joke, but it's not like... When I say I have nothing else to do, it's like... If you say that they simply see themselves as working hard to, you know, and the most they could really do with it, they can't travel foreign, they can't, the most they could really do with it is enjoy themselves when time to enjoy themselves. Well, right, this is, in other words, they're not trying to buy a Range Rover, they're not focused on them other things like what we would be or whatever, you know, so when enjoying yourself is the pinnacle. So when it comes to enjoy yourself, you know, you have no choice but to go all out.
Yeah.
But we, you know, when you're mind on a million other things, and this is just another thing you're going to put pictures on the ground.
Yeah, because that's the thing.
Floss,
where we would study, what phone you have, what shoes you wear. Nah, we come out to enjoy yourself. We drink with rum, we drink with Clark's Club, we drink with Rivers, according to what side you're on. Because that's the next thing, who love the Rivers and who love the Clark's Club, right? And that's the kind of simple things, you know, someone saying. That, and it's be a beautiful time.
Well,
so
I hear what you're saying, and I know we say we'll see if we can talk to somebody from there as well. But just as I say, I was trying to drill along to see if we could find the difference between them and other places, because all that you're saying there, it's kind of like how Bajans behave, and kind of like how I would imagine the few solutions I used to learn back in the day. It's kind of how they were very simple. That was another thing. They were very simple, and they were. I would believe upper middle class solutions, because they were here going to UE and we met them and used to study in UE back when in secondary school now. We used to just go there to study about lime ready, right? And they were middle to, I wouldn't say upper class, maybe upper middle class solutions, and they were real simple though. They were real simple. The simplest things used to be extremely entertaining to them.
Right.
Know? So it's just strange that you from outside, you'd lump all of them into one category, but clearly there's something unique about Grenada.
Yeah, the other day, well, not the other day, probably about 2 years ago, I think right before COVID, it had a man went to rob a store. Man went to rob the store, shoot the people in the store, come in out the store, shoot a man, and then later on the road shoot the next man. You know, when they find out who the man is that do all this, is that Chinny? So, you know, they call me one, Dan. All the people think this all going on. They're coming up here and causing.
And playing man.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not a go pan all here. And when my sister was alive and living across, she used to say, I didn't know if it was a joke, but she used to say, when you hear somebody get shot in Grenada, they used to start to look for the Chinese on the island.
Well, to be fair, they used to say that in Tobago too.
Yeah.
Tobago, and she used to say the same thing, that we go over there and bring all we bad habit over there, carry all we bad habit over there. But it is what it is. But it is something that I think we should really try to understand, not just the two of us, but we as in general as a society, because maybe they might have the key.
Well, boy, I think we do. God, that key ain't gonna work here again, brother. That key can't work here again. Forget that. We had to go and learn from the US and Colombia and Mexico and Brazil and them places.
Them places, bro. Them main places we could learn from. We could learn from Brazil and Mexico and Colombia.
Well, probably Mexico.
But maybe Medellin. You could actually Medellin, because apparently they rehabilitated that city
and make it.
But from my understanding, all they do is they push that drug manufacturing outside, they outsourcing it now.
Well, listen, at this point in Trinidad and Tobago, I am real okay and fine if they push all the murders and the crime and the whatever in certain areas.
The laundering and the drug trafficking.
Well, push it in certain areas and keep it.
Yeah,
you understand? The rest of people can kind of function. And
don't make it know everybody at the past, right? Yeah. So like, don't make it beat them or something.
Yeah. Right? If you say put it in deep south and we take all the decent south people and bring them up here to let them walk down on that side and traffic their drugs in Venezuela and fine. But listen, the normal people need to feel normal.
Yeah.
And look, not that this is a big crime thing, but how they were breaking websites, boy.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
No.
Before Christmas too.
Well, I know what to say. And don't get me wrong, because you know people like to misunderstand what you're saying, but I really kind of thankful it happened now and not in that Christmas week, boy. Because if that had happened that Christmas week, You make real people cry.
You feel the bandit and them had that in mind. Like, all right, we want to lash them when we know Christmas packages coming in, but we go lash them early enough so they could cash in on insurance and replace people's packages, so nobody had to cry for Christmas. No little boy ain't go cry because he can get EPS.
Right. So you think is
they might have done that? You feel like what they do?
No. Nah. You know, you're looking at 12 and thing. There's not 6 feet over more there. But the thing is, why I say I'm thankful it happened now is that, one, it gives us a chance to heighten the security coming into the Christmas season.
I guess everybody.
Well, all
the major couriers now had to. They'll be on the P's and Q's now. Yeah.
Right. I mean, a lot of people and not to go too far, a lot of people have been bashing these people, Caribbean Airlines jetpack. I don't know if you know about all the drama with them.
No.
Yeah, so Caribbean Airlines have the Skybox thing now, Caribbean Airlines jetpack, where they hired some influencers to promote the thing. I would admit, right now, TikTok influencers mashing up the place though. When them push thing, it's working. You get the turn around, you get the return on investment. And so a lot of people started to use the Caribbean Airlines jetpack. Failure, real pressure, they cast out of their life, real craziness. And I'm talking from experience, I don't want people to tell me, because we ship thing with them, and Solia is bacchanal non-stop, real craziness. The thing is, with them, it might be a bit safer using them, because they're using their cargo lot.
But they robbed it too?
Some years ago?
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah, they robbed it too. So, I mean... No way safe, bro.
Hey, that's what we know talking about. No way safe, boy. No way safe.
You switching gears?
Yeah, let me switch gears, jump into this situation with Kyrie.
Oh, we're going Kyrie, right? Okay,
yeah.
cool.
No. Yeah, let me go Kyrie. Do Kyrie one time. I see you have on a Boston hat. You understand?
Well, I should have had on my New Jersey hat to talk. Not, you start me with shit now. My Brooklyn hat.
Right? But no, I mean, you ain't looking at this saying it seemed like the Boston team
is the one rallying for him.
Yeah, showing more support for him.
Yeah. Well, I mainly because Jaylen Brown is the vice president of the Players Union, right? And he has been very vocal, and I guess because he's a kind of I don't want to say he's the leader of the Boston team, but he's kind of the vocal leader. He's the person whenever it comes to talking out about things off the court, he's the one who's kind of lead the way. So I guess the other players who spoke up in support, I know Jason Tatum said something. I know Marcus Smart also came out and kind of spoke in support of Kyrie. But what I wanted to mention, the reason why I felt we needed to bring it up again this week, because I mean it's much of the same in terms of well, actually not really much of the same. It's kind of a weird situation where, you know, he was suspended for 5 games. They said these 6 things he had to do. Then there were reports that they don't really want him to go through these 6 things. So he should be back just now. And then he didn't come back after the 5th game.
Well, the thing is, he met with
Josiah a couple of times.
Right.
Yeah.
And it seemed like after he met with Josiah that everything was resolved.
Right. That was the impression. That's when he started to hear that he would, we don't need to do these 6 things. And he didn't say outrightly that the 5 games would be enough. But he kind of suggested that he would play the following game. But that didn't happen. And now he came out recently and said that Kyrie needs to show that he needs to show people he's sorry, right? But the thing I wanted to point out was, remember I was telling you last week that a lot of these people who are speaking out, they're speaking out because they think that what they're saying is the only side of the story that people would be interested in hearing, right? Because they aren't very invested in what Kyrie did, right? They're not really taking the time to understand what Kyrie did, why he did it, even listen to him, you know? They just are being told he did something that's anti-Semitic, and as far as I'm concerned, them can't come out on TV and support anti-Semitism.
The thing is, they're being told he said something anti-Semitic.
Right. Yes. Even Phil Knight from Nike, even he said
that he
can't tolerate the things Kyrie said. what did he say? Right? So again, you could tell people aren't really, they're pretending that they're standing on a principle, but everybody's just following the crowd, right? And they're doing what they believe to be, they're taking what they believe to be the safe position. And if you want evidence of that, just look at the almost complete reverse position that's coming out now from many of those same people. Now, to be fair, Charles Barkley's still not on that. Right? I haven't heard Shaq say anything, right?
Right, yeah.
Which is strange because you would think he would have to at least comment on the fact that, they found out the cinema. He showed it.
No, I think he realized now, boy, this heat is really, because people real when me and Shaq and realize, wait, I think he realized, wait, boy, let me pardon here. I think, let everybody else get involved. You see Shannon Sharp, make a roundabout. Yeah.
And to be fair to him and to all of the rest of them, Jason Williams, Stephen A. Smith, somebody else I saw make a U-turn as well. LeBron, right? What they are trying to pretend is the angle that they're coming from is that the punishment is excessive. What they have an issue with isn't that Kyrie Irving did something wrong. We all know that's a given, right? And he deserves to be punished. They will all say that, right? But they would say, okay, the 6 things, that is what they have an issue with, right? And to get back what they believe to be the support of the black the black community, they start to bring the racial angle into it now. Well, no, when black people say things, they get a certain amount of punishment, and when white people do things, which, I mean, you can always find examples and outliers, but I remember, and as I was talking to Shannon about this the other day, not Shannon Sharp. Right?
Yeah, I know what I said. People go for years talking to Shannon Sharp.
Shannon Sharp. And, I was just pointing out that, I mean, some of these things to make it a clear case of when white people do it or when black people do it. Don Imus, who, I don't know if you know, but he's dead now, but he was a famous sports radio host, right? He had a sports talk show. It was on radio and TV, whatever. And he was the one who had called the girls from North Carolina. Was it North Carolina? Some one of them, I think it was North Carolina, UNC. The female basketball team, he called them nappy-headed hoes, right? And the person the co-host on the show kind of went along with that bullshit and kind of chimed in and started using other kind of weird names, saying, they call him I think he called him hardcore hoes or something like that, right? Anyway, but the point is, they got real wild on TV, right? And Don Imus was fired. His show was cancelled. He had to take legal action against, I think it's CBS, right? He was suspended at first, and then people were like, no, we don't.
Yeah, I think I remember this story.
He can't come back, you know what I mean? He had to meet with people from the NAACP. I think he met with or he went on the show with, what you call him? Al Sharpton and all that. So he was made to do a lot, and he still didn't he ended up back on TV and radio later on, but that show was cancelled. He was fired. And when he was suspended and when he was initially suspended, people weren't happy with that. People were like, no, that's not enough. He can't come back on the radio after talking that shit. And he did apologize immediately. Right? So this idea that, there's one standard for one and another, okay. But you could never argue that with people who determined to see the world from that perspective that, because there'll be people hearing me saying this, oh, you don't understand, and black people, blah, 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 whatever. But even if, forget whether that's true or not, they're only trying to use that angle because they want to come back on the side of black people because they started to realize, wait a minute, I ain't looking good enough.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it started to seem like you're standing for the Jews. I shouldn't say D and Jews together. Right. It seems
like you're standing with the oppressors.
Right.
With the oppressors.
Right.
Now, in this instance, it's not even necessarily Jewish people oppressed, just the media establishment has decided, and in the case of the NBA, they have all decided to crucify. And not that you're standing with the oppressors, but you're not standing with your brothers.
Right.
Right. Which is where you're supposed to be. As a black man, you're supposed to be standing on the side of black men. Right? So they're using that angle now to make a U-turn. LeBron, same thing. LeBron didn't come out and make any strong statement in support of Kyrie. Now, to be fair, the U-turn, even the U-turn and all little
shaky,
little mealy mouth, you know what I mean? Yeah. But you could tell, and he's realizing he has to defend himself on Twitter because people are making, hey, you supposed to be the black conscious man. Where's that one? You know what I mean? So now he had to come and start to sing a different tune. And I use all of that to point out All of it is fake, bro.
Mm-hmm.
If people don't recognize and understand this now, none of these people are real. They're not activists of any sort. They just, whatever song they feel they need to sing in order to stay popular on social media and get the views on TV or on YouTube whenever they do the show, that's what they're going to do.
You know, I was watching an interview with Jordan Peterson, and he was explaining why they just behave like that, and like people like LeBron and them. And he said, they are so talented, right, that they start to see what they do as nothing. You understand what I'm saying? You understand? To them, we're talking about, they know it might mean something to some people, but to them, so they want to do something that's more meaningful. So then they come and jump on these trains, you understand, and pretend to be
more than they are. Well, I think is partly that. I also think they love adoration, and social media just provides another way for them to be adored.
Right.
You know, people like LeBron, were very careful to, unlike in the past before social media existed, where athletes were just athletes, right? And you only saw them when they weren't on the court, when they were doing ads, or, you know, if they one or two who might have gone into other fields like acting, even while they were playing, that's when you got to see them. So their brand was their brand. And unless they got arrested for some weirdness, you wouldn't know what was going on in their private life. Now everybody is a brand, and so you have a million opportunities now to connect with fans. And people like LeBron, they just love being adored. They love being adored. And so he realized very quickly how to play the game. What are the kinds of things that would make me seem more heroic? You know, the kinds of things that would get me the support of certain people to build my brand. And I mean, some people say he's do that because he wants to separate himself from Jordan. And he can't separate himself from Jordan on the court.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, the criticism of Jordan was he
is asshole.
Well, not just that, he wouldn't speak out on black matters, issues, you know? Yeah. He wasn't socially conscious or whatever. And then there's the statement where I think I've always heard it. I've never heard whether it was, somebody could confirm whether he said it or not. But I believe it's a true quote where he said that, somebody's asking him about why he didn't speak out. Oh, there was some political race in his hometown, I think. And where he from, bro? I think it's New York. I think he born in New York. Wherever he was from, either is where he was from or where in Chicago when he was playing there. There was some political race. And there was the guy who was going up as the Democrat was a black man, and the guy, his opponent was being touted as a racist, right? So obviously the thing to do was to campaign for the black guy, and he wasn't doing that. And apparently, you know, the claim is that he said, when people ask him why, he said Republicans just buy shoes too.
Right.
I think that's how the story went. But, so that was always that criticism of Jordan. So LeBron realized, oh, that's one area in which I could definitely surpass him. Because remember, people like they just pretend like they don't care about their legacy. They don't care how they're viewed by people. But it's clear. When you see how and we'll talk about Ronaldo later, but you'll see how sensitive they get to criticism. So you know that they care about how they're perceived out there. And that is why I think he made it he thought he could find a lane in the activism thing. And now it gets this, and this is why I always used to get mad when people used to try to, you know, build him up as some sort of, you know, or he sacrifices for other. What does he speak out about that can jeopardize his brand? What are the things that he talks about where he's really taking an unpopular stance where he could lose?
And I think something that people do want to point out is sometimes when he even wrong, boy, people even wouldn't want to admit that he's wrong, you know, if you understand what I'm saying. Because like when he is which policeman, boy, he had we had to, like, he made some comment that
but he deleted the tweet though.
Yeah, but still, and he wouldn't come out and say, you know, nah, boy, his people wouldn't say he was wrong, nor would he say he was wrong.
But to be fair, black people wouldn't want to point out he was wrong in that instance in general because of what he was talking about. Because remember, anytime there's a shooting with an unarmed black man, and sometimes they might be unarmed, right? But a shooting with a white officer and a black person, the immediate thing to jump to is racism. So he wouldn't be the only one who would make a mistake in that instance, trying to get out ahead of it and wanting to get, wanted to seem like you're on the cusp of the issue. So it wasn't one that the people had a big issue with, because many of his fans wouldn't have been angry with him for that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So then that's where you realize that as a whole, as they say, everything is fake. Nobody want the real story. Nobody want the real situation. Everybody just want
it's one ginormous groupthink orgy, and that's all people are really interested in. What was the thing to be angry about today? I'll tweet about that. That will get me support from this group or that group. And
but you see what we're going on now with Dave Chappelle.
You mean after
Saturday Night Live skit? Yeah. You see, they're trying to cancel Dave Chappelle too.
I mean, for the same anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I told you this before, but I think we are on the cusp of a change here. I think people are poking at the bear. And I want to say of a change, I mean of a culture change. This sort of, well, once it offends me, it cannot be said kind of attitude. I think we are going to see that. They're trying to tick away at that. Because people like Kanye and like Dave Chappelle, and to an extent Kyrie Irving, who are so loved by the fans that they have, they can't turn people against them easily. Right? So people who would have never argued before, you could say what you want, man, it was the big deal. When you start to go after their people to cancel them, then all of a sudden it's, well, why a man can't talk and why a man can't say, so why we so sensitive to what this one particular group and what bothers them, And I feel, it's going to slowly but surely.
Well, the thing is, I've been taking in all these videos and interviews on YouTube over the past week or so. Somebody was saying that right now the Jews are real uncomfortable. Because right now they're feeling like this is a region war, it's a war that is building between them and blacks.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, as much as, because what they're saying is, them on top there who quarreling, hey, we don't want our beef, though. The average Jew who trying to live their life, they're like, hey, listen, we don't want our beef, and what all they doing? All they provoking the beast right now,
Yeah.
So,
but I don't think it's a war that's brewing. I think it's, as I was mentioning last week, I think that they have a feeling that black people could begin to break down that shield that they have, which is, well, listen, once anything is even remotely close to offensive to us, that anti-Semitic label is used, that shield comes up, conversation ends. Right? We don't discuss, and somebody was pointing out the other day, nobody's even discussing what is contained in that documentary. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, without it being challenged, that the documentary contains falsehoods. Right? Okay, fine. But is the entire thing falsehoods?
Right. Which, and that's my point I was making, because apparently the documentary touched on plenty different things. It wasn't just Jews alone, right? There was plenty different things from back then, right? And I mean, Kyrie said that. Well, listen, I do agree with everything in the documentary.
Right.
I mean,
so we can't have a conversation about the documentary at all because it contains things you call anti-Semitic tropes. That's how we operate in a free society, where because everybody keeps saying, even Charles Barkley, when he was doubling down on what he was saying, he carrying around insulting people's religion. But that's not what Kyrie Irving was interested in doing. He was not, that's not what he says he was trying to promote. You know what I mean? Shannon Sharp was saying, in trying to, in his very inarticulate way, trying to big up your own people. You can't fight down other people. But he's not bigging up or fight. He's simply saying, these are things that we believe to be true. And if they're true, then we should have a discussion about them. So we can't, but that is what I think ultimately what they're afraid of, because I think people in power generally do not like having their power challenged, right? Billionaires don't like you talking about the fact that this is billionaires in general, right? Not any particular class of billionaires, but billionaires in general don't like people to talk about the the people they don't mind people talking about the money that they have, but they like people talking about the influence that they have. Because then that could wake people up and be like, hey.
Do you remember that happened here with the 1% thing? Remember when they make the 1% statement in the documentary?
Yes.
I think it was that Vice documentary.
Yeah.
It was Vice or that was the documentary with Anthony Bourdain.
No, I can't remember.
One of them documentaries, right?
Yeah.
And they make the statement. Remember the 1% after come and hey, listen,
Don't start at all.
Yeah.
Because we don't. Why you going out there putting on blast that we have all this influence? Because then that if anything, because the only thing that we have that the masses have against any group of people that's trying to control is numbers, right? And the people on top know. Yes, they have influence, but if the vast majority of these people begin to realize, hey, wait,
and they rebel,
and they turn the sights on them, then all of a sudden everything could crumble. So they don't want you going out there putting them on blast all the time about how much they control, because then you would want to break up their control. So I think people who, whatever race or group they are from, people who have a significant amount of power, they don't want criticism. So any way they could shut that criticism down, they will do that. And I think that is what they're afraid of, because white people can't do that because of who they are.
Yeah.
Normal, Caucasians, non-Jewish Caucasians, you know what I mean? They can't be racist to anybody. They can't bring up anything, because then everybody shuts that down immediately. But if black people could pull their victim card now and start to say things that other people can't say, that's very dangerous for them. That's what I believe is what is at issue here. And
I think they really show themselves with this Kanye and Kyrie thing, which is what drum up the support and making people hate them more. Because also, oh gosh, all telling me, all do have so much self-control that when the situation unfold, you know how YouTube and Instagram, the shadow ban? Oh God, look at that shadow ban them. You understand what I'm saying? Just wait till it has some negotiation again and then squeeze out our boy. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But let's jump out one time. And that is what make people say.
Okay, well listen. Again, I don't want to make it sound like there is no validity to the concerns. There is real reason to believe that if people go around throwing about anti-Semitic tropes, that and they have real reason to fear that, because they saw that happen before.
I agree. They saw that happen in Germany, right?
Yes, they saw how what people might term legitimate criticism could turn into in no time we putting them in gas chambers.
Right.
So
I agree. Listen, I agree. But the thing is, I think what has happened now is that when they start to, because what Kanye and them accusing you of is having so much power that they can't say nothing.
Right, yes. Exactly. Right? Yes.
And then when they say something,
right.
You one time, you start to cut them, and people started, because I think a lot of people live their lives, you just hear the Jews have power and they have influence, but they don't study it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They just live their life and they don't study it. But then when your favorite rapper and one of your favorite basketballers say something, and then, and in Kyrie situation, post something or tweet something, and there's the result, you'll be like, also, all they really out and all they really willing to abuse that power.
Yeah, to flex in that way.
And to flex in that way whenever all they want.
And shut down the conversation. Because the thing with Kanye is that Kanye is another one who's not particularly articulate. So, to be fair to them, in his case, he could probably sound like, his language could make it sound a little bit off key, right? You could say, and as I say, that DEFCON, we don't know if he spelled DEFCON incorrectly on purpose or what, and you could say that his rhetoric sounds, although in one breath he's saying he's jealous of them, and in the next breath, because he's who he is and how he expresses himself. So I could kind of understand, you could say he getting a little bit wild, right? But nobody is actually going to grapple with some of the facts he has contained in what he's saying. And that is what is really, getting some people upset. Because to their minds, like, so don't Jewish people control a lot of industries? If the record labels are constantly putting out rappers who are singing stuff that is detrimental to everybody, but particularly to the black community, and the biggest beneficiaries of that music is not the artists, it's the record label owners and executives, and they all happen to be part of this particular group. We can't mention that. Like, now, you could say, those people would say, and they'd probably be right. Listen, we're not doing that because we want to distress all
That's what selling. That's what selling. And that's what all the community want to buy.
Well, not just all the community, to be fair, because if the black people, if the rap industry had to survive on only black patronage, it wouldn't be where it is now. It wouldn't be $1 billion industry. But the thing is, even when black people, that is, get a chance to be, maybe not at the top, but close to the top, they don't change. They produce, they bring in the same one. They perpetuate the same sound and message. So they would say, listen, we're not doing this to destroy the black community. But even Leo Cohen, when he was interviewed by Charlemagne on the Breakfast Club, he was interviewed by all of them on the Breakfast Club. Leo Cohen used to be the head of Def Jam, right? And when Charlemagne asked him point blank, so you don't feel that kind of way like benefiting off of this music that is, don't you think you're a culture vulture? That's the term Dame Dash had coined now. And he's like, well, no, I don't think it's exploitative. I think it's opportunistic, right? But the point is, it is true that there's a group of people who aren't black, whether they're Jewish or not, but they aren't black, and they're the major beneficiaries of black people running around singing self-destructive music. So we can't point that out at all. We can't have a discussion about that at all. In no way, shape, or form. And okay, we could be very careful to make sure not to let this descend into Jew hatred of any sort.
But is it because the Jews, I can't say the Jews, but is it that they can't articulate themselves well enough? Because I think you could have that conversation and make your points, because you could simply say, okay, I just saying, watch out this album compared to this album, right? Under the same label or whatever. And this is the one that's selling more. And it's a business we're in. And clearly, there are more people in the market who are willing to buy this type of music.
But then they will get into the issue that that is what the people like, because that's where you pushed. It wasn't always that way, and there was a conscious effort to turn it around. That's number one. And number two, people will say, okay, even if that is the case, but don't you feel responsible for, it's like if you're interviewing a drug dealer, it's like, I just selling what people want, but you shouldn't sell it. Right? Don't you feel weird? It's not an excuse that somebody else go sell it if I don't sell it. Because you should feel like I shouldn't profit off of people, throwing their lives away in the case of drugs. You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of what Charlemagne was asking Leo Cohen. Like, you don't feel a way at all? Like, this music is, there's a very small group of people that's benefiting. The artists as well, but there's a small group. But there's a whole lot of people who kind of harmed by this. Oh, you don't feel a way about that? And it's very difficult to get somebody to defend themselves in that instance without simply saying, well, I greedy. I want money. And nobody wants to admit that.
And well, the man said he had a family to feed.
Right.
He had a family to feed.
He had a family to feed, right? But that comes off. He didn't come off looking good in that, So what could be said about you when you leave? Yeah, well, that man essentially saying that for profit, he will push anything out there. Once it's legal, he will push it out there and make money. He don't care about who it harms or that, that's not a conversation that they want to have. Right? But it's not that they can't articulate themselves. They have just realized that they have the power to shut down the conversation. So they're not even entertaining it. They're not even entertaining. We will entertain no such discussion. There will be no kind of examination of what we do and how we do it and how we operate. That's just not how it goes. We're not on that. So, and because they have that very big shield and they have the power to put behind that shield.
And it's the funny thing? I never vex with them, I'm telling you why I never vex with them? Because black people let's do that too. Black people just use the race card in certain instances where a conversation could be had.
Yes.
To shut it down. And just use the race card.
Yes. I mean, but groups do that in general. Women do that. Feminists do that.
And then LGBT does that.
Everybody does that. Once you give them a victim card, that's the point of a victim card. I get to pull it out now and say, no. Can't go any further. We can't have a discussion about...
The only difference in this situation is that all the rest of victims arguably in a less fortunate situation than them.
Right. The biggest difference, you don't know about the LGBT, you can't really say, because they are members of all communities, right?
No, but in terms of, but they would say that they're more oppressed on a daily basis than them.
Meaning who Jews?
Yeah.
Well,
They would say that.
They would say that. Maybe some Jews might argue that, but I think the only difference is that the Jews have the power to enforce their rules, whereas other groups, maybe with the exception of LGBT groups, because they, as I say, they could come from all groups, races and genders or whatever. So, they could be powerful in those areas too. Especially in particular industries too, you'll find a lot of people who powerful people, members of those industries who are members of the LGBT community. But in the case of black people, and to some extent in the case of women, when they pull the victim card, they have to rely on people feeling sorry for them.
Right, yeah.
So that's the argument, because that's the argument the black people always have. We've all victim card, those seem to work like this. We could pull a victim card, but we just still have to fight off little, or it could still come from this angle and that angle. These people, when they pull the victim card, it shuts everything down.
They're the real reverse Uno, or whatever you call it.
Yes, they're the baddest reverse Uno. It done right, the conversation ends. And that's because they get to enforce it themselves. They're not asking, so, black people, if they're offended, they're asking a white-owned company now to fire somebody, or cancel somebody, or a Jewish-owned company to cancel somebody, but they don't rely on anybody else. They within their community, they have all the power. So when you start, now we get to shut it down. We get to make calls. No. That's done.
But the thing is, and it's true, as Corey was saying, where our power is. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Our power is in our spending. So, I see the type of guy, I really can't remember the guy's name, a dark man with a beard who's doing a podcast. He say he have about 300 and something pairs of shoes, sneakers. He has 188, I think, pairs of Nikes that he never wore, and he's going to sell out all of them or get rid of all of them. I think he says sell, and he's not buying no more Nikes in support of Kyrie.
Same thing as I was asking Shannon. I want to see what kind of energy people will have for Nike now. Because remember, we supposedly in this super woke 2022, where we don't tolerate and we boycott and we this and we that, right? Colin Kaepernick, when he got Nike endorsement, everybody forget the fact that Nike is a company that's use slave labor to make the shoes, and all of a sudden Nike became some virtuous organization. Well, now look at what they've done. Are you going to continue buying Nike?
Nike didn't ask our conversation, or no?
Yeah.
You understand?
Shut it down.
They shut it down one time. First they suspend the release of the sneaker. And they're like, nah, we done.
Yeah, we done. We end our contract. Now, two things I want to see. I want to see if, because the tide will turn eventually, and once the tide turns, somebody in Nike will say, well, let me reach back out to Kyrie. I want to see if Kyrie will work with them still.
Right.
I would love to see that. If they decide to, because even Phil Knight was a little bit mealy out when he said I could revisit it in the future, right? So if they do that, when this all blows over, I want to see if Kyrie will, make any
you take any stand?
Yeah.
And say, nah, we ain't gonna do that all year. And I mean, what about Adidas? You think we should boycott Adidas?
Well,
too?
if Adidas Lego, you think they go, oh, you mean if we should boycott Adidas too? Well, you can't boycott Adidas.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, but what I have now, I got away out I have now. And just not buy.
Listen, I don't have really a problem with Adidas, as I told you last week, because Adidas, number one, I think they were kind of like with the Nets and Kyrie, they were kind of want to get out of this contract with Kanye already, right? They he was a headache for them to deal with, and he also said he wanted out of that contract, right? And I think they just said, well, there's something we could use as an actionable cause, and they were willing to run with it.
But what about the fact that them continuing to use the designs or wanting to use the designs?
Well, I mean, we mean the legal ramifications of that?
No, not legal ramifications. The fact that they're doing that, it's kind of exploitative, like we will. Kind of. I mean, obviously, legally, they could do it.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily exploitative, but I mean...
If they really want nothing to do with him, why would they still use any of his contributions? Yeah, you could argue that. You could, which again leads you to believe that none of this is on any principle. It's simply business. We wanted to get rid of that headache. This became something that gave us grounds to do that, and so we're doing it.
Right. Right. And as we talking about getting rid of headache, boy. Right. Ronaldo is saying that he have a ton of people on Manchester United who wanted to get rid of him, who want to get rid of him now, and who wanted to get rid of him last year. That's what the man said, though.
To be fair, he didn't say a ton. He said it was a few people.
Well, a few people. But God, how much people is having? How much people is having that situation?
I mean, there'll be lots of people when it comes to the board and management of the club. So he included Ten Hag, and he said a couple people above him.
Yeah.
So and a lot of people assume he's referring to the Glazers, the owners, right? Listen, the first thing I want to say about that interview, which we haven't seen.
Well, the half coming out Wednesday, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the next half coming out Thursday. Yeah. But they saw some clips.
Yes, they released some clips, right? But let me tell you something important. Folks, and this is good food for thought here, right? Or good advice, I should say. Whenever you hear somebody repeat a quote that's been made by someone else, before you rush to judgment, if you could get the source material, the original article, or the video of the person making the quote, do that. Because the first time I heard this being discussed, the video Piers Morgan hadn't actually released the clips yet. Somebody got it in advance, right? And they were on a talk show, a British talk show, and they were reading out. Whoever it is was feeding them the information, was looking at the video, typed up the quotes and sent them. And they read the one with Wayne Rooney. And I was like, listen, I know this man was a cacahole from a long time. But boy, to say that, boy, to say that, he jealous because, he playing at a higher level and I better looking than him. I was like, what the fuck? Like, really? Really? You would say that? But then I saw the clip. And it's nowhere.
It wasn't exactly like that because they make that better looking thing as a joke.
Right. Number one, and when he was originally asked by Piers Morgan what he thought was behind Rooney's criticism, he wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, he said he don't know. He said,
you had to ask him.
Yeah.
And it's Piers Morgan who then, do you think he's jealous that you're still playing and he's not? And then, no, to be fair, Ronaldo is not a child. He could have shut it down still. He could have said, well, I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I don't know what it is, what is any man's mind or whatever, right? But the point is, Piers Morgan kind of led him down that road into saying that. And then the better looking thing was a joke. And it is also, and I understand why it would occur to him to make the joke, because there are a lot of these memes going around that have compared Wayne Rooney to Cristiano Ronaldo. And because Wayne Rooney is much younger than Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, I think he's 4 years younger than him. And he looks like Wayne Rooney looks how he looks. I don't know. So there's been a meme or memes going around for close to 2 years now, ever since Rooney came back from coaching, came back from the States and started coaching at Derby. And it's like, wait, boy, why Wayne Rooney looking like that? Like, he's only in his early 30s. Like, why he looks like a 90-year-old man? And those memes had come out for a while. So I could kind of understand too where it came from, because he would see those things online himself and be like, hey, maybe he's because English is not his first language, so he can't say, well, maybe those memes get into him or something like that. But the point I'm making is, when you hear the quote in isolation, he's jealous because I'm playing at a high level and he's not, and maybe it's because I look better than him and that's true, or I'm not gonna say I look better than him, but we all know that's true or something like that. When you hear that or you see that in writing, it's like, what the how did we reach there? You know what I mean? I'm better looking. And we all know he's a vain fella, but really, that's where we reach. But then when you saw the clip, when I saw the clip, it's like, Oh, okay. All right. That's not that bad. Honestly, from the whole thing not the whole thing. What we've seen, the only thing I have an issue with is what he said about his coach. Is coming out and saying you don't respect the manager. I think that shows.
And I think that's the part of the conversation I wanted to have, But what you see, it shows what?
It shows how petty Cristiano Ronaldo is and how much he is hurt by the fact that Ten Hag isn't playing him. All of this is only happening now because he's not playing.
Mm-hmm.
And he, in his mind, thinks that man has not done enough in football. I don't think he would think anybody in football has done enough in football to be able to do it.
Other than Alex.
I don't even think he'd think Jose Mourinho could tell him what to do. Because Jose Mourinho was his manager for a while and they didn't get along, right? And you would think with the two of them being Portuguese and both of them having the same kind of ego, But in particular, Erik Ten Hag, he thinks, hey, who's you to keep me out of the squad? Well, he's not him, sir. So he now wants to go out there and verbally disrespect him. And that's what, I think that showed just how petty he is.
No, the thing is, all right, so there are plenty of things that have shown over the years how petty Ronaldo is.
Selfish, but not petty.
But when I say, I'm not childish. I want to use the word childish.
Okay, right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And unable to sometimes control his emotions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think that's something we have seen over the years with him.
Yes.
But, and obviously you're more into football than I am. Well, you're more into sports than I am, right? So, what is the big issue when people have an issue with a coach and they talk about it? Like, I realize that there's a real big problem. Or a manager of a team or whatever now.
Okay. Remember, this person has been hired to. But the first thing we should mention is that when you're contracted to play for a club, you are required to make sure you don't do things to disparage your club in the public, right? So that's why you could get fined for doing things like that, right? So that's the first thing. You can have an issue with the coach and you could talk to the coach face to face.
But you can't go there and say it.
You can't go there and say it because the brand is so important, and especially when it's Manchester United you're talking about, that you can't just go out there and be talking all willy-nilly out of timing, right? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, this is somebody who has to manage people other than you in that organization. Not just players, but in particular players in the locker room. You going out there and saying to the world you don't respect him now makes it harder for him to manage the rest of the players. Because he couldn't care less about him. Erik Ten Hag doesn't give a fuck about Ronaldo. He doesn't, in fact, Erik Ten Hag is probably happy now because now nobody could give him any pressure for not playing him, right? Because he's done something that he can't come back and play here. So that's done, right? So he's glad. So he doesn't care about that. But what would bother him would be, or if it went unpunished, the issue would be, how am I supposed to manage
the rest of the squad?
The rest of the squad. Because they will then feel that, because this is not like a manager in a normal organization where when you come out on a daily basis to work in a normal organization, 95% of the time you don't have any interaction with your manager. You are kind of depending on most jobs, you are kind of self-sufficient, and it's only when you come to report something or whatever, that is when, but with professional sports, no, every day I tell you what to do. You understand? Every day I tell you where to play on the field. I tell you how much to play. You understand where I'm coming from? So I need to have the respect. It's almost like the army. I need to have the full respect of everybody involved. You can't be out there disrespecting me in the public because it makes it, and you can't do it in the locker room either. But at least if it stays in the locker room, I could manage it that way. But when it goes out there, and if I don't address that when it goes out there, how the ass I gonna manage the rest of the players, other egos on the squad?
Because I saw, got into some problems with that as well. Lukaku, when he talked the fellow was coaching Chelsea then.
Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah. So I come and I see it now, but because here's my concern. Is it a possibility that Ronaldo was having issues with this manager I mean, it would be debatable who is more valuable to the team, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well,
At this stage, it's not debatable.
well, the thing is, I think
In his mind, it's debatable.
Some Ronaldo fans might find
In his mind, it's debatable, but it's not debatable to anybody with a...
because to be fair,
I
seen real people bashing Ronaldo and real people saying, he should never play again, blah, 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 right?
Okay, yes.
To be fair, right? And not seeing much people coming out to defend him other than Piers Morgan.
I mean, his fanboys out there. His fanboys out there.
Right?
But they don't really care about football. He's almost a god to them.
Right.
You know, so yeah.
So, well, because this is kind of where I was going. Is it that, he thinks that this man know what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I'm the real star here. Mm-hmm. I have been around the world and right? And I talking to the management, and the management is trying to hear what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So I decided, well, okay, I come in public because this is my form of protest, a real form of protest, other than staying away and walking off. Mm-hmm. You understand? Walking out the stadium and them kind of thing.
But he must know that. No, first of all this is being engineered for him to leave the club. Right? This is what all it is about. But let's say it wasn't that. Let's say he was so upset, right? You don't protest and get on the pitch. Mm. You understand what I'm saying?
I think he was trying to protest for people to drum up the support for them to remove the coach.
No, well, the only way the coach is going to be removed is if he's losing. And that's the problem. He's not losing when you're not playing. You started 5 games this season. They lost 4 of the 5 that you started. What is wrong with you?
One goal, I think, is one goal he scored.
Well, 1 goal in the Premier League. He scored 2 goals in the Europa Cup, right? Against a team called Sheriff, bro.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, I think it's Slovenia. I didn't know. I can't remember where that side from, right? And one of them was a penalty, right? So, he's played a bag of minutes. I can't remember the start how much minutes he's played, right?
I heard him say about 500 minutes or something.
Some kind of no goals. Well, 1 goal in the Premier League, 3 goals in total, and very few chances created. There's a stat now in football where they could kind of chart how much you contribute to the attack, and he's nothing. He's a waste of space on the field, right? So if the manager isn't handling the scenario, and you're not playing, then he will get fired, and then you'll have to impress a new coach. You don't go out and protest to get your spot on the field. You understand what I'm saying? Because going out, you're not going to get on the field when you disrespect the manager. You're going to make yourself even worse. All he wants to do is he's trying to hurt him. Well, 2 things. He wants to leave the club, and he also wants to say to his fanboys, "It's not my fault."
But right, so that and that's what I was getting to. Is it that he is thinking or hoping that his fan base is so big that when he makes these remarks publicly that they kind of protest on it?
No. He can't. He could not think that doing this would get him on the field, or get Ten Hag fired. No, he does not. He's not that delusional. He's clearly delusional because he still thinks he deserves to start every game. But he's not that delusional. He knows that would... The only thing that would get them to fire Ten Hag is if Manchester United are losing games. And they're not. No, they're not playing the best football in the world. I think some people kind of exaggerating how well they're playing. Like, making it seem like he is the second coming of Alex Ferguson. I don't know about that yet. But the point is, the team looks better without you. And at present, he has... turned it around. They had an awful start when he was playing, and he's kind of turned it around. And now I think they're in 5th. They're 3 points behind Tottenham, and they have a game in hand. So if they win that game, I think they could, on goal difference, they could go above Tottenham to the top 4. So right now, Erik ten Hag is winning the argument between who's more valuable to the squad. But I think he's still desperate to try to get one more Champions League run. He wants to leave in January. He thinks this is the way to get to make that happen, to get him to fire him, to do like what they did.
So he thinks if he's fired, he would get picked up by our next team.
You would ask, why would he think that? Because over the summer period, nobody seemed to be interested in him. I've heard conflicting reports. Some people say that who reporters who normally close to Manchester United say that Manchester never wanted a transfer fee for him. They knew whoever was going to pay his salary wasn't going to pay his salary and a transfer fee. So they were willing to let him go for free. So if that is the case and nobody wanted you, then I don't know why you getting fired. Or no, if he gets fired, then that means he could negotiate a completely new contract. But he could have always taken less money. You know, if he, let's say he wanted to go to Napoli, right? Because he wants to be in the Champions League because he wants to extend his scoring record so that Messi can't catch him.
Yeah.
Right now, Messi's like 11 or 10 goals behind him, right? And so he wants to continue playing in the Champions League so he could run up that number. So when Manchester United didn't qualify for the Champions League at the end of the season last year, he didn't make it clear. He didn't announce it, but everybody says he wanted to go. But he couldn't get any buyers outside, right? But let's say he wanted to go to Napoli. And Napoli said, well, listen, we ain't paying no transfer fee because you owe a shit and we ain't trying to pay no set of money for no man turning 37. Well, he's 37 now.
He's 37 already, yeah.
Yeah. We ain't going through that. And they say, well, yeah, and we'll take you, but we ain't paying $500,000 a week, bro. We're not going through that. He could have easily said, well, all right, I'll take 200,000. I'll take 100,000. I don't need money. You know what I mean? I don't need your salary. I don't need that salary from you. What I'm playing for now is legacy to run up the score in the Champions League or wherever, right? So he could have done that. He could have done that. So if he didn't want to decrease his salary then we have to assume that wherever he wants to go in January, he wants them to pay him his $2 million a month. And who the hell in the Champions League is going to pay him now?
Oh, let's hear them figures, right? People who are really into football, that's the kind of figures them fellas play for, eh?
Well, like him and Messi.
Yeah.
Him, Messi, Mbappe, Neymar.
Yeah.
That's the kind of figures, them fellas, that's the ranges, them fellas.
You know, Euro or pounds?
Pounds in the case of Ronaldo.
Okay, yeah. So 2 million pounds.
Yeah, a month.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland might be close to that too. So Erling Haaland, Mbappe, Neymar, Messi, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
So that's the kinds of figures that them fellas calling. And I remember, I don't know how true it is, but I think it was 2019, the last calendar year before the pandemic, Messi and Ronaldo were neck and neck for off the field earnings, and I think it was between 84 and 83 million for the two of them a year. Yeah. Off the field earnings. That's not it.
Yeah. Nothing to do with football.
That's not the salary, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah. So I don't know. I was looking earlier today at the teams in the Champions League. I don't know where you want to go. PSG, Bayern Munich. None of them buying him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Them fellas doing quite okay without him.
Yes.
And they want to complicate the squad at this point.
Inter Milan, them broken. And them have Lukaku, who injured. He coming back in January. So they certainly don't need Ronaldo to come and take up space up front. Porto, he might have a chance being Portuguese. I mean, that is not his FC Sporting is the club from boyhood club he grew up in Portugal. They might want him, but I don't know if they're willing to pay him. If they have that kind of money to pay him. Porto certainly don't have that. Benfica don't have that money to pay him. Real Madrid done blank him over the summer. Liverpool don't want to part. AC Milan can't afford him. Tottenham, where they go put him in place of Harry Kane. City, that ain't happening. Leipzig he might get through with Leipzig, but Leipzig is the same problem as Manchester. Is a young squad. They want to play run and gun football. They want an old man to come on who can't press and can't run and just looking to poach goals in front of you. They want all that shit. So I don't know where he hoping to go, but he could, as far as I'm concerned, he could have cooled his ass, and because his contract comes to an end next summer anyway, so in June or wherever, he could just play out the rest of the season. But I guess again it's the ego.
Yeah, I know what it is. He's
on the bench, you're not taking
and
that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think he has a certain, in his mind, he has a certain amount of value and a certain amount of skill. I don't think, and I think that could be, I mean, people like him, he should know. But I think he still thinks he has the skill and the agility and the speed as when he was 21 years old.
Well, I don't think I think he knows he doesn't have the speed. I think what he feels is that if the team plays towards to him, focuses on him more stringently, he could get the amount of goals. Because last season, he got a bag of goals last season, but it was shit. And that's the problem. He's not a part of he doesn't add to a good team anymore. The whole team has to play towards him. And it was a slow, laborious kind of donkey game they was playing last season, but he was benefiting, and that's why it's all about his ego, because none of this talk was coming out last season. All this talk about how the clubbing evolve and the training grounds is shit and all these things stay in the past. All that was happening last year, but it was all smiles last season. The only thing he was vexed about was that the team didn't get into the Champions League. You understand what I'm saying? Because again, all he's studying is himself. I want to get back in the Champions League. So he could break them could extend the record, could run up the numbers. That's all he's studying. It's all about him. Before we move on, the last thing, I've always had this argument with people. When in Euro 2016, when they played France, Portugal played France in the finals, and Ronaldo got injured early in the game and had to come off, right? We came into penalty kicks, and there's all this footage of him being like a coach, going and ginning up everybody and getting them, to go out there and not have fear to take the penalties. And everybody's used that as an example of, look at his leadership now. Look at how much he cares about the other players. You know what he cared about? He wanted the trophy. And that's the only thing he was ginning them up for.
But you didn't do that again.
Well, I think he did that because remember, he had never won any international trophy. He kind of like Messi. He had the same issue. He had never won an international trophy. All them in the club awards and individual awards, never won a major trophy with your country. So this was a chance to get his hands on that trophy. That's why he was so desperate to get them to perform, because I'm this close to getting that trophy. No, he don't give a shit about that. You don't see him acting like that with the players in Manchester. You know what I mean? You don't. They're showing footage of him back in Portugal now, and it seemed like them fellas not on him. You know what I mean? They show Bruno Fernandes. They try to make it play out like it's like some kind of joke that he had with Ronaldo, but Bruno Fernandes didn't look like he was laughing. Neither did Ronaldo. Bruno Fernandes walked in, tap him, and kind of turn and walk off, give him a kind of cold shoulder, and you seen the look on Ronaldo's face. Like. So that is all. We're not gonna have a longer chat, because remember, you two of them playing in Manchester together. So he's like, hey, he thought. So it is clear to me that he has always been about himself. I will never forget that game where they were playing for Real Madrid when we call him, it was Marcelo, right? I can't remember, somebody had cut in. No, it wasn't Marcelo, because Marcelo was playing on the left. So I can't remember who was coming from the right. They beat 2-3 players, cut into the box, and they could have squared it for Ronaldo, who was wide open. But they took the shot, squeezed it in on the near post, and score. And that man was vexing over it. Because they ran off, celebrate, and he stamped his foot, because he wanted to score. We see them kind of bullshit.
He's a man for the numbers and the ratings like Westbrook.
Not even worse than Westbrook. Westbrook at least has some kind of concern about his teammates. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. The only reason he cares about his teammates is the fact that he need them to win trophies. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's always been this talk that Karim Benzema, kind of put his career on the back burner, right, to serve Ronaldo when Ronaldo was playing at Real Madrid, right? Benzema played all of his life essentially as the focal point of the attack as a number 9. But when Ronaldo was there, he kind of took a step back and was Ronaldo's servant more than anything else, right? He would make runs to draw the defenders to create space for Ronaldo. So everybody's always kind of said Benzema was the perfect sidekick to Ronaldo, and they were always good friends when they was in Real Madrid. Benzema won the Ballon d'Or the other day, and somebody asked him if Ronaldo called to congratulate him. He said, nah. You need to see a text or a call from Ronaldo,
Well, I mean, the man have his own issues going on with Manchester. The man head hot dog. When things calm down and the man go on retirement, the man will call Benzema and give him all the ratings and applause.
Is the last thing?
Yeah, well, we will go across the last thing, but I never see the little rumor that come out. In the Premier League there, they say Mountain. You didn't see that?
Nah, Mountain one.
Mountain Reese.
Oh God, nah. I dog shit. I dog shit. I don't know Chelsea fan dog, but I really like Reece James. Pause. And so I don't want to believe that I dog shit.
They say now we could look out for them, being the first openly.
Brother man, move on to the next topic.
Right?
Move on to the next topic there, brother.
Right?
I want to part of that. That's you want to bring up there now?
Right, I just saying, Corey's a Chelsea supporter, so I let him know. Yeah, no, Chelsea, no.
Nah, brother man. As I say, I don't particularly rate Chelsea, and I'm a Chelsea fan. And I would say I'm not a Manchester United fan, but after Ronaldo antics, I want Erik ten Hag to succeed even more now. So he turned me into a Manchester United fan because I want Erik ten Hag to succeed in his absence, so he could turn around and show him a big clown.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's not right. But the Barca playing Manchester United in the next round of the Europa Cup now when things start back. So don't let the success go there.
Right. Yeah, because right now,
just in the Premier League.
Yeah, let me see how it go because right now Barca are a little shaky, yeah, though.
Yeah, not a little shaky.
Yeah.
Real shaky. Things start off nice in the beginning league and
then again, I can understand it's not Chelsea fan too. Because they take a little savior.
Who's that?
Aubameyang
was no savior. Aubameyang is not different. Aubameyang ain't going there and do nothing.
But he was winning when he was there.
Not. I mean, the one when he came over in January, he bust up the net and then he tapered off. But it's not like if he's the difference. He's the reason why we not winning now. Is a problem with the defense. So Aubameyang, I not vexed. I mean, with the amount of forwards we bought, somebody had to go. And if you ask me if it was between Aubameyang and Depay, if to use as a extra, it's a million of them now. But the extra striker or forward, I would have taken Depay because he gives more. He has more to his game than Aubameyang. In Aubameyang, he does the same thing that Rafinha does. He does the same thing that Dembele does. Memphis Depay, on the other hand, he could play in the middle. He could hold up the ball. He could turn players. So I would have preferred to have kept him. And the thing is, Chelsea didn't swoop in and take Aubameyang. We needed to get rid of Aubameyang because they had so many forwards. But
so, but we jumping back across into the US and touching on this topic with
21
Savage and Nas.
And Nas, yeah.
Something we were talking about earlier on, and it kind of I linked the two of them. I can't remember what it is right now. For the people who don't know, 21 Savage and they were having a conversation. Well, obviously on the heels after he and Drake released his album, they were having a conversation on Clubhouse, right? This archaic social platform,
which I did not know still existed.
Yeah, right. And I think plenty people did know still existed, but nevertheless, they're having a conversation, and somewhere along the line they brought up Nas and Nas album that recently came out, and apparently the sales not doing too well. And you're saying well because you're not really relevant anymore. So and
that caused a big kerfuffle in the world of hip hop and the world of popular culture, entertainment, and so on. It should be mentioned that 21. If we could find the clip, we'll insert it. But 21 Savage did not sound like he was coming out to attack Nas.
Yeah, or disrespectful. Because what you're saying is, listen, he's not that relevant anymore. He has his fans. He has good music. But I guess what you're trying to say is he do have the numbers. Like how we are the numbers right now.
Right. He said he has a group, a tight group of hardcore fans, and his exact words, and he still makes good ass music or music that's good as shit or some shit like that. But the point is, he did point out that he makes good music and he has a hardcore group of fans. the other people in the conversation, a man bring a dictionary definition of relevant in the talk. Then the next man try to phrase it like, well, listen, ain't nobody under 30 waking up and checking for Nas, right? And to that, 21 Savage was like, yeah, well, that's what I mean, right? And he even said, I don't know if irrelevant is the wrong word. This is 21 Savage saying that afterwards, he's like, I don't know even if irrelevant is the wrong word, but the point I'm trying to make is that the, his numbers now there. He isn't, he didn't say this, but I think what he's trying to mean is he isn't really shaping the culture anymore. And that to me is definitely what relevant should mean in this context. Because it shouldn't necessarily mean sales. It shouldn't necessarily mean the amount of people who know you. But when you do something, when you drop something, does it shake the culture? Right? In any way, shape, or form. And some people argue Nas does. I wouldn't. I would say when Nas drops an album, people who were already Nas fans care. Nobody else does.
And I could tell you, I'm one of the people, even back then, I didn't care. I'm being honest with you.
When?
Back in 2000. I didn't care when Nas dropped an album. I might have liked one or two songs, the mainstream songs. Because, to me, Nas is not really a mainstream artist. And when I say mainstream, I talk about global mainstream and not necessarily American mainstream. You understand? Because it has some songs that would do real good there that we never really play here on radio and we never bust here.
No, he's had major hits. If I really would.
No, but probably. I mean, but not like plenty other artists in his time. Or not like, let's just compare him to Jay-Z, who he was competing with at that time, or who had, right? Jay-Z had way more global hits than Nas.
Really? Other than, oh gosh, Hard Knock Life. What was the name of that song?
Hard Knock Life, Big Pimpin'.
I'm a hustler, baby.
Yeah.
I just want you to know.
Yeah.
That's probably the only 3 songs. And well, New York with Alicia Keys.
I think there are plenty more songs people know. The average person dusts his shoulders off. And you could...
No, but you're saying global hits. One of the arguments people... 50 Cent got in this big thing when he pointed out that Jay-Z's not known outside of the States, you know. Because when 50 was making... He was being interviewed by Tim Westwood, and the British DJ, you know. And he's saying, listen, you know, when I go to India, people know G-Unit, right? They don't know Jay-Z is.
Serious?
Yeah. You go to many parts of I mean, this was then he was talking. And now Jay-Z's kind of know, if Jay-Z never married Beyonce, a lot of people wouldn't even know who he is now. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying Nas is bigger than him, you know. I'm simply saying that I think we overestimate what global appeal Jay-Z had.
Right.
Now, if you talk about artists like Eminem, if you talk about artists like 50 Cent, if you talk about artists like Drake, those are humongous, internationally renowned stars. Jay-Z was very local for most of his career.
Okay.
Let's be honest. And I mean, yes, he would have more hits than Nas. He has more albums than Nas in general. And he did sing more commercially viable music.
Right. I think that is a better word I should have used. Yeah, more commercial music.
Yeah, he did sing more commercially viable rap. But when you say, like, you know, global hits, that is what kind of true. I was like, he didn't really have very many, you know, songs where you could play it any part of the world and people know it. I'm not so sure. But I get your point. He was certainly, Nas was always a poetic rapper who was focused on, you know, being more, you know, intricate with his bars than with making you wine in a club or jump in a club. Yes, so that's true.
And I have tried it. I've tried, and I feel like sometimes listening to Nas just make me feel like I listen to Jordan Peterson sometimes, but like, oh, just now, wait, how did rewind this? So I'm missing something here.
Listen, I'm a big Nas fan, right? Huge Nas fan. And but the difference between me, I think a lot of the situation with these artists that people become so attached to them that they have this kind of this real ridiculous bias where they can't point out when the music is starting to fade. I think Nas stopped making good music maybe 15 years now. I listened to the first King's Disease album, and I was like, what the fuck is this? You put him, you know what it is? It's like the music does not evolve. I don't want to listen to Nas in 2022 and feel like I'm listening to Illmatic again.
Right.
Because it's not the 1990s. Well, I mean, I didn't even listen to Illmatic until until the album was old, because that probably came out like 92, 93, somewhere there. And I didn't listen to that till like 98, 99, when I first started getting into rap. So it was an old album back then. And I could listen to Illmatic. I could listen to It Was Written. I could listen to everything up to Godson. But after that, it just feels as if Nas has been giving me the same thing over and over and over again. And you're trying to take me back to that time when I already have your music from that time. You don't bring, the music doesn't sound fresh to me at all. But it's kind of like, well, if you're a hip hop head, you're supposed to rate Nas and you're supposed to say, nah, the music banging and horse. I listened to the album, this last King's Disease, and by track number 4, I felt like I was working hard.
Serious.
And I'm a Nas fan, right? Yeah, I just found like, but the hardcore Nas fans and the hip hop heads go, oh, that's Nas' best album for the whatever. But the reality is that good music does last, right? And it's the same argument I had with people when Jay Electronica had the album with Jay-Z. Now, I love Jay Electronica. That man, real flicking bad dog. And I was looking forward, like everybody else, to the album, right? I prefer if he had done it by himself. But okay, you try to do this album with Jay-Z, right? And the issue I had was that Jay Electronica did what he normally did, but in an attempt to make it seem like highbrow music, like real intellectual art, it just sounded like if the album was produced by an amateur producer. Like they wanted it to sound so edgy that it didn't sound like well-produced music. Right. I just heard a bunch of bars. And okay, Jay Electronica delivers. And the reason why I like him so much is because his flow is so melodic that he could sing without a beat and I will enjoy it, right? But in terms of a good body of music, it wasn't that. But everybody, no, dang, timeless album, blah, 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 blah. That came out in 2020? Nobody listening to that now.
No, yeah.
Nobody. All of them who tell me that's the greatest thing since sliced bread, name one of these songs. Nobody listen. It speaks for itself. But everybody, in the case of Jay Electronica, everybody remembers his verse on that Kendrick Lamar song, Control. Everybody remember that verse. Everybody remembers Exhibit C. I listened to Exhibit C just the other day. You understand what I'm saying? But nobody's in the album, songs of those albums. So it's the same thing with Nas.
But the thing is, and getting back to the Nas thing, right? And you're saying they kind of making music from then. Is it that because you believe that the music now, the type of music again now, right? The new age rap, which might make you relevant. It's not long-lasting music.
It's not timeless music.
It's not timeless music. So what do? Do you try to play in that field, or you try to go back and see if I come back with what I used to do, which was timeless music? Do I try to dabble there and see?
I think if you can't reinvent yourself and sound fresh, you should just stop rapping. You should just stop. Jay-Z does it to an extent. Now, I don't really rate Jay-Z's new albums the way other people do. But at least it sounds different. It sounds, every time he raps, I don't feel like if he's trying to take me back to, Hard Knock Life.
I agree,
You understand what I'm saying? So he has found a way to reinvent himself. Nas, I think, hasn't done that. I was listening to somebody had an album there, and I don't know, one of those older artists who, and I felt the same way. It's like, why am I listening like it's 2002 all over again? And to bringing it back to the relevant and irrelevant argument, a lot of the people who would come at 21 Savage keep saying the same thing, oh, you ain't do like what he, because they take it as a personal attack. That's what old people start to get now, you know what I mean? Like, you're attacking the music. He's simply saying, bro, that era is done. That's done. It's done. It's done. He has his hardcore fans, and and to him, the music is really good. But he's just not shaping the culture. When he drops, there's a very relatively minuscule amount of people And I mean, to be fair, how old Nas is 50? 51 or something like that?
Seriously, so...
Yeah, I think Nas is in his 50s.
Yeah, wow. I would have thought, wow, 42, 43, you know.
Nah, 42. Ice Minister 40, bro. You tell me what? when Nas first album come out, I was in primary school. And he was young. I think he was like 18, but, you know, he would have been, some years older than me. I think he's in his, if he's not 50, he's like in his very late 40s. But, you know, if you're still rapping at that time, like, you shouldn't really be trying to
be relevant.
49. He's 49. Sorry. Yeah. So he's, how much, when is his birthday? September. All right. He will be 50 next year.
Okay, yeah. Noted.
Yeah, he'll be.
Yeah, I think it's a very ticklish conversation to have with any genre of music right now, because you can see it with soca, you can see it with dancehall. We don't get timeless music again. Right?
Nah, I think we get timeless soca though. I think we still get timeless.
Well, I mean, one or two. The last timeless soca I think what you could say come out was Family.
Family?
Yeah, well,
no, I don't think that's timeless. I think things that timeless is things like Haunted.
I really love Haunted, right? That's probably one of my, I do really have favorites, but I would say that is one of my favorite Marshall Montano songs. If it's on a Pop-Up Bottle.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Pop-Up Bottle, Family.
I don't think people go be jamming to Family, and I don't think people go be jamming to that in 10 years. I think that real, you know, it's bad for the time. I don't think you could put that on in 10 years and people will. I think you could put on Patrice Drink Water in 15 years and people will jam to that. I think a lot of groovy soca has longevity. Longevity.
I feel the Family will stay by. What chance?
Almost everything Kessler sing is timeless music. No, almost when he hits. When he hit the target, the music timeless.
I agree, but the thing is, people, for whatever reason, people just forget to play Kess. You know what I'm saying? You just remember Kess when Kess sing his song. You know what I'm saying? When Kess perform a song, you're like, who the boy Kess, but yes, boy, and enjoy it. But real DJs just forget to play Kess music, especially this newer music. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I think things like What Less.
Yeah,
I think What Less will.
But What Less is, I think What Less was still back then, because What Less all in us when you think about it.
But that's how timeless it is, because you don't feel that old. I think that's 2013 or something like that.
Nah, that could be before that. Yeah, that could be before that. What Less old.
Serious?
Yeah.
All right, let me check that one.
Yeah. So, and well, with dancehall, same thing. You know, you get much less timeless music now than before. Hip hop, probably even worse in hip hop, right? Because
2011.
Yeah. You understand?
Yeah.
So with hip hop, I think it's even worse because I don't know what's going on in hip hop, but
well, I think it's everybody's attention span. Everything comes out of the cycle so quickly. But I think who was the last hip hop song I think you could be sure to hear in the years to come? Okay, I don't think Kanye West sings necessary these days. I don't think his songs are necessary. Yes, they are timeless, but they're not as big. They're not huge hits in the present, but they are timeless music. They are. He has a lot of songs that you could play in 10, 15 years and people will still feel the vibe of that music. And you saw it when his performance with Drake. Because Drake singing songs, and all of them is hits, but it's like songs people remember, and it's, you know, after a week, nobody care about that song again. But then when Kanye comes on the stage, people want to cry. You know what I mean? Because the way he performs, the songs touch your soul, whereas Drake music just make you bop your head. You understand? So hip hop is probably... Hip hop has nothing.
Yeah. So I think in this songs, if you're looking to make timeless music and reach back some sort of relevance, I think kind of hard. You just have to make the disposable music and make as much of it as possible, and eat our food. Okay, your bookings.
Nah, no, because timeless music is where the real money at, you know, bro.
I know. Listen, I agree with you.
That's where the real money at.
I agree with you, but for somehow it not happening.
Because they don't want to. I don't think they want to. Everybody wants to catch the fad. You know, Kendrick Lamar probably would say he sings timeless music. I don't like Kendrick Lamar's music. That's me, right? I'm not a big fan of Kendrick Lamar. Not a big fan of J. Cole either. But I think his fans would say his music is timeless. I think people would say that swimming pool song would probably be timeless. But it's not my cup of tea. But yeah, hip hop hard. And I try to think even in dancehall, way.
No, what coming out now that you could say timeless?
You have to think of the artist first.
Yeah.
Because they had the same name and all. So you can't even say, well, you know. And this is probably, you go laugh at this as an example, but you know, it's the last dance, all I feel as if it was timeless.
Is that right?
Dexter Daps, you know, Shabba Motherpot.
Yeah.
That's the only thing occurring to me, you know.
That is a song you could play some years from now still.
Yeah.
And people will be about.
And people, yeah, and it will still have a effect in people. Yeah, that's the last song I could think of, you know.
Right, I think them little rough cartel and them, you see, the boy run like a hoon. People for whatever reason they play that now.
But that era dancehall, Movado and Cartel have a few songs that would be timeless. But after that though, Popcorn, he's probably the closest thing to it. Family. That's a family that would probably be timeless. Yeah, you have a few tunes that could probably play any year. Silence. How that song's going? Silence is the name of it, but hard for me, enemy, hard for me,
friend.
Yeah, that song, that tune could probably you could probably call that timeless.
And if you like in 10 years, I could still get played.
Because I still listen to that. And how old that song is now? About 5 years?
Yeah, probably,
5-6 years.
About 4. I remember that Popcorn album, about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Because I remember that Popcorn album now coming out, and because that's the album where you sing, be careful who you tell when you buy a new Beamer.
That's the same song. That's the same song. Yeah, that's the same song.
Right. And remember driving the Beamer and playing that song. So yeah, I remember that, and Beamer is 4.5 years ago. Yeah.
So, and I still listen to that, and it still sounds just as good as it sounded back then. You know, it doesn't sound dated. You don't hear the song, and it you see, and that's the thing. Like, that's what these artists can't understand. Artists like Nas, you know, it's like, I already have that from you. I already have that era of music. I don't need more songs like that. I need either you're going to stop rapping and I just listen to your old catalog, or if you're going to sing something new, give me a new feeling.
Sounds like you're talking about KMC there too, boy.
I see you was in TTT the other day.
Yeah, I see you singing that song on Arcade just behind him. Looking like he wasn't too sure what to do.
But KMC, you know.
Because I think KMC had a real bad tune back in the day, you know, dog.
Bro.
Real bad, you know. But I don't know what it is now that I just cannot catch.
I think number one is because, and he says this, he have the formula. I think when you start thinking like that, that's when your music gets dated. Kind of like 50 Cent. 50 Cent thought he had a formula. And maybe he had a formula that worked for a period. But when that
was relevant at that point in time.
Right. But when you think in a formulaic fashion, that's when as an artist you date yourself. That's why Jay-Z could reinvent himself a million years after. Because he never thought of, he didn't find a formula. A pattern for your rhyming and a certain structure for your hook, and 50 Cent had that down. And when you have that kind of music, that formulaic music, you will hit for a period. But then when that period is done, nobody wants to hear you anymore, and you don't have another lane to go into. You don't have another. You can't switch it up. And I think that was KMC's issue. KMC is too insistent on the hit formula. And he thinks he has a hit formula. And he had a hit formula that used to work then. But man ain't trying to hear that now.
And I mean, to give Marshall his credit, I think Marshall is up next person who
Formula.
Yeah. And he make up his mind, hey, okay, no. Wait now, Travis, well, you're a young boy and you doing it. Come in.
Yeah.
You understand?
And if you had to go on some retreat and get some new energy, new vibes, wait just with me on this mic today.
I don't know. Yeah. And I mean, and he kind of reading what's going on out there.
Yeah.
You know? And you realize Skinny's artists are coming up too because Skinny's it's a problem coming up too. Right? And make sure they tie up with Skinny and them and you know, so Skinny kind of keep you fresh now. Boy.
Exactly. So. But KMC, I don't know the ins and outs of the industry who don't like him because of XYZ reason and whatever. So maybe he can't do the kind of collaborations that will help him remain relevant. But he just don't seem to be willing from the outside. I don't know what is the reality, but it don't seem like he's willing to kind of fall in and get some influences from other areas so he could switch up his style, because it's every time you hear him, it sounds like the 1990s.
Yeah.
You're trying to make me feel like it's 1996 or 1997 or 1998 again. And I remember that is one of the problems I had with Super Blue. When Super Blue came back with
Friday?
Yeah,
Fantastic Friday.
Yeah. Now, he catch with that one, right? But he tried to repeat that. Next year, I think he come with some bongs or some shit or something. Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like, nah, bro, it is not 1992.
Because at that point in time with Soca, we were taking in nostalgia. Eh? You understand?
Yeah.
You remember Big People Party and them kind of thing? Was a kind of nostalgic, kind of old time vibe. And hey, boy.
And we still bring that, but every year just have a tune that kind of like that. You know what I mean? Them Red Boys, they do that production well. You know what I mean?
Voice do it this year.
But you see, the thing is, they don't, the rhythms might sound old, but the artists give a fresh tone to it. But when Super Blue does that, he sings in the same way he sang in 1992 on a rhythm from 1992. It doesn't it doesn't connect. Except, well, Fantastic Friday was what it was, a lightning in a bottle. But then he had to link up with Marshall and switch it out completely. And then now I can listen to Super Blue because it doesn't sound like when he was climbing the scaffolding in Skinner Park. You know what I mean?
Like with the Soca Baptist and them thing back in them days.
No, and maybe if you bring back Soca Baptist, that vibes, because that Super Blue, well, when he was just Blue Boy, that was bad. I'm not saying that 90s Super Blue wasn't bad, but Rebecca and Ethel and them tune, I actually preferred that version than 1990s Jump Up and Jump Up and Wave or whatever. That was Preacher, but whatever, right? That when he would sing the song for Lara,
I remember that.
Sing to Lara and all them things. That version of Super Blue, I don't like that much. I really like Ethel. And I think if he brought that Soca Baptist vibes, if he brought that
with that nowadays production,
it will. I think that will sell off.
We don't give too much in more advice and free consultation. This songs are getting serious, and I think I started charging consulting. Boy, real people contacting me to help them with the podcast and set up the podcast. Right. So I think I started charge for consulting. Yeah, people, you know, so. Ole, link man, right? Because you didn't want to take the friggin' politicians' money, so.
Boy, a man asked me that the other day, no?
Serious?
Yeah, boy, a man asked me. So here now, when election thing and thing coming up, so Ole gonna try and like pick a side, or no, he didn't say pick a side. He said something like Ole gonna try to like friend up with a certain with people, or. I said, but why you saying that? You know what I mean? You don't listen to the thing? Yeah. But to go, like, be real. That's not what they doing it for. Nobody be doing this thing for. We don't really, it's not political podcast. It's about all kind of different things. Boy, don't try that with me now, man. Everybody have an angle. I said, right, brother, man. If you say so. So, people feel like...
Say people aren't feeling that, boy, dog. Well, we at least cash in on it now, boy.
Brother, man.
Let me talk about that affair.
I like to sleep when the night come.
You go buy ni mas certa dog. You go in and buy some kind of Tempur-Pedic, dog, you will fall asleep before you even know it. You understand? Before you even know it, dog. Tempur-Pedic are proper, it's called inverter air condition unit. You understand? Maintaining the same temperature throughout the night. You understand? You sleeping like a baby G.
You know, how much you feel them this pay, boy? How much you feel them this pay?
Well, according to the side. I think if you go on the red side, you don't get much money.
But
I think the yellow side. I think the yellow side go jump the dust.
Contractors, remember our contractors on the red for the red team too. Independent contractors.
Right.
You know, for that amount, I might be able to buy a nice mattress.
Nah, but I don't feel they didn't want to pay you like the contractors and them.
Okay.
The independent
Contractors.
Yeah, contractors.
Right,
but
right.
I think the yellow side, boy, dog, boy. Let me just see that, boy.
It's not like your favorites. I don't play.
I know it's not favorite. It's where the money is, boy, dog, boy. This life hard, you know. You
I
understand?
agree with that. The life hard.
Right? I know. I need to start with a hybrid battery, boy, dog, boy.
So I think that is it for today.
Yeah, that is it. Right? But yeah, what's going on? All the tender, sending all the tenders. Let us know how much you're willing to pay. Election coming just now, local government, let me know, and we will consider it. We get some thought, right? Right.
Address them to here, not me.